podcast. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Today, uh, I, Fayaz Ahmed, am going to be talking to you guys about some of what's going on in the NBA playoffs. We're a week and 1 day in, and we've had a lot of action. Let's start off in Cleveland today. Kevin Love was injured in the first quarter while fighting Kelly Olynyk for a rebound, and it resulted in him separating his shoulder. Uh, After the game, Kevin Love said that he felt this was intentional by Kelly Olynyk and Bush League. Now, I went back and watched the play, from a few different angles, and I think it was just one of those freak occurrences, where they're both fighting for the ball, and Kelly Olynyk hooked his arm and exerted a little force on his arm. I don't know, while trying to go for the ball, and unfortunately, Kevin Love, not Dwight Howard. Kevin Love suffered a separated shoulder. Kelly Olynyk's a guy, he's just trying to make it in this league. Doesn't really have a reputation for dirty play. I don't know what went on, if there was any smack, going on between them to begin with. But right now for me, it does not, look intentional. However, this is a big loss. Looking at the Cavs, how this is going to affect them going forward. Um, let's see. They have some depth at that position. Looking at their roster, Tristan Thompson has been big for them off the bench. He's a beast on the offensive rebounds. Not having Kevin Love out there is definitely going to affect their spacing. One thing he does for them, he spaces the floor and creates driving lanes for LeBron and Kyrie to, get to the rim and attack and play their games. One thing, looking at this injury, while this is a big loss, part of me wonders, how big is this going to be for them? Can they still go deep? Can they still win the East? Part of me says yes, because, a lot of fourth quarters, they've closed many games without Kevin Love this year. He missed a stretch of like 7 to 10 games early in the season, and the Cavs didn't miss a beat. Now, going forward, for the rest of the playoffs, if that is the timetable on his return, I am a doctor. My specialty is internal medicine, not orthopedic surgery. So, I don't know. This injury could be out a month, could be out the rest of the playoffs. We'll see. But, going forward, I think LeBron. It's going to be interesting to see how David Blatt plays it. Does he go small, move LeBron to the power forward, and maybe insert Mike Miller or who's the other guy, Iman Shumpert in, and just kind of play fast and more fast and speed attack, spread the floor with shooting, or which I think could help them, because that's the way they close games a lot of times, LeBron playing at the four. And, at this stage of his career, LeBron, is probably going to, probably more of, well, I don't want to, limit him. He's the best player in the NBA. But, I think, playing the four is going to give him a lot of favorable matchups, definitely. My only concern with them playing Tristan Thompson, starting Tristan Thompson is the spacing issue. He does not have the range or shooting ability that Kevin Love does. However, he is a monster on the glass. So, let's see. This, one thing what this kind of reminds me of is the Chris Bosh injury from a few years back in 2012 playoffs, when he went down in game one of the semifinals against Indiana with the abdominal strain. And all of a sudden, we found out how important he was to their success. And, one thing with Kevin Love this year, he's had a struggle this year trying to fit in. And let's see. Let's see if the Cavs can, weather the storm, rally around, the guys they have, or, is this something that are we gonna realize, like, he's more important to the success or not? That's to be seen. Another thing floating around with the Kevin Love injury today is this the last we've seen of Kevin Love as a Cleveland Cavalier? Um, that's it's hard to answer. I think definitely where his value on the market was coming into this year, given he was coming off a year where he averaged 26 points, 13 rebounds at Minnesota, to the nosedive his numbers have taken, I think his value has taken a hit. However, um, however, he is in a good situation, surrounded by LeBron and Kyrie Irving. I don't think I think he'll be hard pressed to find uh, you know this good a fit. Uh, not fit. That's the wrong word, because he really has not fit in with the Cavs. But he's never. It's going to be hard pressed for him to find a better. So two guys to play with. Uh, we're saying, have we seen the last of Kevin Love? I'm gonna say no, because part of me also feels, he's not gonna opt out of his contract. He may wait it out another year, play another year, and try to get a better contract, with the new collective bargaining agreement. That being said, if thing is, the teams that are being talked about that are gonna pursue him, let's first look at the Lakers. If he goes to the Lakers, rebuilding, it's another rebuilding team. They're probably not going to be in the playoffs next year, and he's kind of back where he was in Minnesota, albeit he's in a much better city, Southern California. Gotta love that. Another team that's been talked about are the Knicks. However, with the Knicks, it's going to be him. It's going to be Melo. It's going to be your turn, my turn. I'm not sure how he fits in there. Um, Playing with the Cavs, I think as much as he struggled this year, I know I heard he's been battling back injuries and obviously his shoulder injury now. I think, another year under David Blatt's system, I think he's going to get more comfortable and get better. So, I mean, I think he'll be back in Cleveland. I think, at the end of the day, they can offer him more money, and he has a chance to play with the best player in the NBA. So I think he'll be with the Cavs. So looking around the NBA playoffs, a lot of one-sided series. One of these series. And I'm going to bring my Raptors guy, Rahul Malik, to talk about this series. Was the Toronto Raptors versus the Washington Wizards. I'm a little disappointed. I thought this series was going to be much closer than it is. Currently Toronto's down 17 points in Game 4, probably going to be swept out. But I really thought the series was going to go 6-7 games. Either with it a toss up between each team. Looking at it from Toronto's perspective, this is the second year they've made the playoffs in a row. They have a nice core. I mean, they have Kyle Lowry. He's an all-star point guard. DeMar DeRozan, a solid shooting guard. But after that, it's they have some okay talent, but the big question I think it's going to be in Toronto is, what do they do? Is this you know is this the farthest this roster is going to go? Are there going to need to be wholesale changes, or is this a simple retool? Maybe you add a few pieces, try to maybe go after Paul Millsap or get another big time free agent. It's going to be interesting because Masai Ujiri, when he came in, the many of the foundational pieces on the team were already set in, when he came in, i.e. the coach, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, who I believe was signed to an extension by Byron Colangelo, and, Jonas Valanciunas. So I really feel this summer, it's going to be important for them to see what he does. And I think this kind of will be the first big chance he has to really, put his imprint in on the team. But, let's see. Looking around at the Rockets and versus Mavs, I thought this series was going to be much closer than it is. The Rockets, my Rockets, my team, we're up 3-0. I think, for us, we have we got the Mavs at a good time. They're kind of self-imploding with Chandler Parsons, injuring his knee, and the whole, Rajon Rondo bad fit has completely combusted. And with Rick Carlisle even saying that, he doubts he will, be in a Mavs uniform going forward. With Rondo, it was a bad fit. I think with him and Monte Ellis, I believe it's a bad fit because both players need the ball. Monte is an attacking guard. He likes to pound the rock, get in the lane, dish out, score. And Rondo's the same way. Rondo needs the ball in his hands, and he needs to pound the rock. He wants to get in the lane, dish out to guys. And the kind of system he runs is kind of a sporadic one. As one of my favorite guys on ESPN, Amin El Hassan, says, kind of a napkin offense. Sort of he brings the ball up and guys go here and there, and then he finds the open man. Whereas, Rick Carlisle, he wants a very structured offense with movement. And, looking at the Mavericks coming into the season, I really liked their roster at the beginning of the season. Although I'm not a Mavericks fan, being from Houston, I liked, on paper, they looked great. You had that center, you had Chandler Parsons, you had Dirk Nowitzki, who's slowed down a little bit, but he's still playing at an all-star level. And, Chandler Parsons, who I think has, steadily made great strides the past few years. Monte Ellis and Jameer Nelson, very serviceable point guard. And they started out pretty well, very efficient offense. Unfortunately, this just has not fit. And it's kind of unfortunate for Rajon Rondo because I don't think he's helped his cause in free agency as well. I'm not sure how many suitors he's going to have out there. I mean, yes, I'm sure the Los Angeles Lakers are interested in him. I guess him and Kobe are friends, but in this golden era of point guards, in this age of point guards, what you really need a point guard to do, you need a point guard that's good on the pick and roll. You need a point guard that can come off a pick, hit an 18-foot jumper, that can, get in the lane, create offense. And, I think just the one thing with Rajon Rondo is inability to shoot the ball, I think is why I would hesitate to give him a max contract. If I'm a team that I need a point guard, and I have about $6-7 million to spend, I'd give it to him. But if I'm the Lakers, I would hold off. I think there are bigger fishes to be caught at that position. Definitely Goran Dragic. I think he fits the mold of what you want in a point guard. He can push the ball, he can shoot, he can dish. He's a good floor general. But Rajon Rondo, he's got the general part down, but he just can't shoot. So that's one thing I'd be wary of. With my Rockets, we've played great. James Harden, I think he's done what his team needs him to do. And the first two games, his team needed him to distribute, pass the ball, kind of take what the defense gives him. And game 3, in a scoring, marathon, they needed him to score, and he responded with 42 points and a big shot down the stretch. Dwight Howard is healthy. He's moving the ball. He's moving, and he's playing. Kind of like that DeAndre Jordan role where he's defending, blocking shots, controlling the paint, and finishing off dunks and high percentage shots. I think I think it's a good sign for the Rockets going forward because as well as James Harden and the supporting cast have played, they need him to bring it. They need him to bring it. And another guy on the Rockets that's played really well is Josh Smith. I think it is I think it's a tribute to Kevin McHale and the Rockets coaching staff that they've embraced Josh. They've said, okay, they said, Josh, whatever happened in Detroit, just wipe it clean. We know what you do. He is a guy that he can handle the ball, he can shoot, he can dunk. There are some negative things about Josh Smith. He's not a great three-point shooter. He's not a great free throw shooter. He makes some boneheaded plays, but so far in this series, he's been great for us off the bench. He comes in, he's a creator, he's a guy that can run their offense through, and I think definitely on the second unit he's thrived. Is he a number one option? No. Is he a number 2 option? No. Is he like a number? I think on this team as like a third option guy who you run your offense through on your second unit, he's thrived. So I'm hoping we can finish it out tonight. I got my broom out. I'm dressed in black for funeral mode, and hopefully we'll have something to celebrate out in H-Town. Another series I want to comment on is the Clippers versus the Spurs. By far to me, this has been the best first-round series. Both teams are title caliber teams. I really thought the Clippers blew a huge opportunity in Game 2. I mean, they had it there. They overcame Greg Popovich's, hack at DeAndre Jordan. They battled back. They had a 2-point lead, and then, Blake Griffin fumbled, the ball away, and they tied it. And even going into overtime in that game, I still thought they had a good shot, because Tony Parker had left the game. Manu Ginobili had fouled out. They were pretty depleted. And, it's just a testament to, the depth of the Spurs and, and I hate saying this because I hate the Spurs, but, I think it's definitely, one thing I've always appreciated about Popovich is, we criticize him for resting his guys during the regular season, but by resting, Tim, Manu, Tony, what he does is he puts the other guys like the Patty Mills, Tiago Splitters, Danny Greens, he puts them in big spots so, they can learn, how to execute, how to stay under pressure, not let the moment get too big for them. So that being said, they lost Game 2, and then Game 3 was a blowout, but I thought today they responded well. They came out, they won by like 12, 14 points. Chris Paul, I feel, has been playing at an elite level in this series, despite his Game 3 performance. His jumper has been going, he's been aggressive, he's been attacking. And Blake Griffin, he's been locked in the series. He's played well. He's done whatever the team needs him to do, whether it's being a facilitator, given, he's been averaging 6-7 assists a season. And, one thing I missed out was that he averaged 5 assists this season. So he's definitely a good facilitator. I thought today, they executed well. Even when the Spurs made a run, they stayed calm. And Austin Rivers stepped up. I thought the bench stepped up. They got about 35 points from their bench, and that's the big thing for them in this series. We know their starting five. Their starting five is excellent. Not excellent. Their starting five is great. Their starting five is good enough. Their starting five is good enough to win a title. It's just, can their bench sustain that? When their bench comes in with the lead, can they prevent it from? Can they keep the lead? Can they keep the Clippers in the game? And today they did that. Going forward, it's going to be interesting. You're going back to the LA for Game 5. There's definitely pressure on both teams. I mean, if you're the Spurs, yeah, you have 5 titles. Yeah, for the most part, a lot of times you're playing with house money. But I mean, this could be one of the last runs for the big 3. So you definitely want to maximize it. So look, going in Game 5, it's a toss-up. I mean, if the Clippers play their game, I like the Clippers, but, if they slip up, the thing with the Spurs are so fundamentally solid that they will take advantage of that. And, I don't even know where to go for in Game 5. I want to say I like the Clippers because they're playing at home, and I think after Game 1, I think maybe they're starting to feel themselves in Game 2. Thought that they had it, and I think that they got a big wake-up call in Games 2 and 3 that, this is not going to be easy. The Spurs are not going anywhere, and if the Clippers want to win this series, they are going to have to cut it out of the Spurs. Looking elsewhere in the NBA, the Pelicans got swept, and one thing I was kicking around is Anthony Davis is eligible for a max 5-year, $100 million, $140 million, I don't know what the number is, extension to stay with the Pelicans through, I don't know, like 2020, 2021. And, usually, when, these big time players, over the past few years, John Wall, Kyrie Irving, Derrick Rose have finished their third years. Pretty much every big name player has signed an extension to stay with their team. We've never seen a guy, sign qualifying offers for 2 years and forego that extension to become an unrestricted free agent. However, in this case, me and Zach Harper were having like kind of a back and forth about this on Twitter. He disagrees with me that he definitely will sign the extension, but I'm not sure. I think with Anthony Davis, he's one of the top players in the NBA. Could be the third, fourth best player, about to enter his prime. Something he has to ask himself is, you know, does he have faith? Do I have faith? If I'm Anthony Davis, do I have faith that the Pelicans are going to put a title contending team around me so that we're in the chase year in and year out? Otherwise, he's playing in a tough Western Conference with many good organizations, and he could just be kind of in that Kevin Garnett circa 2005 2007 where he's basically rotting for a mediocre team, average mediocre team that's 42 43 wins at best. And I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he signs this extension. I mean, granted, definitely he will have the security, financial security, that if anything happens to him, he's set for his career, for his life. But if I'm Anthony Davis, I think long and hard about this extension. I would. Thing is, if he doesn't sign the extension in 2 years, he can go to any team he wants. He can go to the Lakers, he can go to the Clippers, the Rockets, Spurs, Knicks, Brooklyn, anywhere. So, if I'm him, definitely New Orleans is going to come hard and fast for that extension. But I think he also too should think long and hard and before he signs that extension and commits himself to that organization, for the next probably 7 years, because I think he has another 1 or 2 more years left in his rookie deal, and then he has 5 years on his contract. Let's look at some awards. Kawhi Leonard won Defensive Player of the Year. On one hand, I have no problem with that. I think Kawhi Leonard's the best perimeter defender in the NBA. He moves his feet well. He has size, quickness, length that bothers guys. My only thing was, to me, part of this and any award is participation. And he missed about 18 games because of, various hand injuries, knee pain, rest, whatever. And, based on that, I would have gone with maybe Draymond Green. He's been big for the Warriors this season, guarding, centers, power forwards, small forwards, shooting guards at times. So I was a little on the fence about that. Rookie of the Year, I think definitely it's Andrew Wiggins. I think the star is very bright for him. I think, as he matures, I think he's going to become a better ball handler, a better shooter. I just, hope the organization, puts a good team around him to maximize his talents and maximize his prime years. And if I was that organization, I think for me, Flip Saunders is a nice coach, but for the long haul, I'm not sure how I feel about that. If I'm the Timberwolves, I would maybe give Flip Saunders one more season and see how he does. And if not, maybe I think they should look around, try to bring in another coach. I think Scott Brooks would be great for that team. Look, for everything, that went wrong for Scott Brooks, like playing Kendrick Perkins too much, not really developing an offense in Oklahoma City, I thought he did a good job kind of, taking a young team and really, getting him in the right direction. He took over in 2009, and by 2010, they were winning 50 games in the playoffs in a very close series against the Lakers. And then, they got the conference finals, the NBA finals, and, if not for a few injuries, they might have won the title. And, I think definitely if Kevin Durant had, been healthy or even at 85-90% going into the playoffs, I think they would have I might have even gone with them over the Warriors, but, so that's what we'll see. Sixth Man of the Year, go with Lou Williams. I think Most Improved Player, I'd go with Jimmy Butler. And MVP. So So let's look at some of our MVP candidates. We have Steph Curry, who's been excellent this year. He's been the best player, on a very talented team that won 67 games. And then there's my guy, James Harden, who has averaged 27 points per game, 7 assists, and has led an injury-depleted Rockets team to 56 wins in the number 2 seed. I've watched both guys play, but I think, I'm biased, and I've watched James Harden play this whole year, and he's brought it in, night out, really been a leader for that team. Whether it's been Dwight Howard missing 40 some odd games, whether it's been Patrick Beverley in and out of the lineup and finally out for the rest of the season, Modi Yunus going out with back surgery, he's brought it. And the Rockets have not lost more than I think 2 straight games this entire season, which is impressive. And he's been a leader, he's been a facilitator, he's been a scorer, he stepped up his defense. He's been everything for that team. And, to me, that's why I think he's the most valuable player. Steph Curry, he's had a great year, but, he has a lot of talent around him. I think Klay Thompson definitely helps him out with the scoring load. I mean, he does the majority of the scoring, but, there's Klay Thompson is there to take the pressure off of him. James Harden, he is the main scorer. He's their facilitator. He does everything for them on offense. He creates offense for everybody essentially. And without James Harden, the Rockets, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. Maybe they're a 30-35 win team, and with him, they're title contenders. And I think that is a big testament to what he's done this season. LeBron James has been great, but I think again, part of the award is participation. And I love LeBron, but I think definitely that 2 weeks he took early in the season to get ready, and topped off with the slow start the Cavs got off to, I think hurt him. Otherwise any other year he'd win the MVP. So that concludes our episode for today. Hopefully we're going to be having some more podcasts. Definitely we're going to be talking to Toronto Raptors basketball in the coming weeks, and we're going to get Adil Hidari up on here to talk about some Bulls basketball. And I don't really know much about boxing, but we got Pacquiao and Mayweather coming up in a week. Mayweather is the big favorite, but I'm going for Pacquiao. I want to see what he can do. I think it'd be nice to see him win. So until next time, everybody, be safe, stay on the wagon. And you can catch this podcast, on our blog at bwagsports.blogspot.com, and follow us on Twitter at bwagsports. Take care.